The Delhi Metro Rail Corporation case is in the background of the fact that unfortunately this metro pillar number 67 collapsed on 12th July 2009, and while the pillar collapsed, unfortunately it resulted in the death of 6 persons and injury to many others. Now, in this background, the gentleman in this case wanted to study the structural design of the pillar and wanted to know whether there is any fault in the same, and that's why he wanted a copy of the pillar design. Now, that was the basic background behind which this information was being sought. So what did he seek? All structural drawing of both the pile foundation and the superstructure, including all steel reinforcement details, foundational details, engineering calculation, and soil test. I think these were very prominent in terms of what he had sought for. Unfortunately, after the pillar collapse and the death of 6 persons and injury to many others, the Delhi Metro Corporation had actually initiated an inquiry because they thought that there was some kind of sabotage, and there were anti-national elements who were involved in this case as well. So they said that providing the said information could be very exposing Delhi Metro and making it very vulnerable, because some of these informations are very sensitive in nature, especially those of bridge and other things, and hence it can be misused as well. And hence they said, keeping the security, safety of the state, traveling of the public, the said information would impede all the said interest of the state, and hence they sought exemption under section 81A, and they said that to stop any future accidents, it would be necessary not to disclose the said information. Plus, they also said that this may hamper the said investigation in the current case by providing the said information. However, the Delhi High Court did not agree. They said, while they said that yes, certain of this information can come within section 81A. However, considering the fact that there was an accident, the pillar had collapsed, I think there is a larger public interest that outweighs the protected interest. And because this was a case about safety of citizens and travelers, I think the said information should be provided and disclosed. And they said that the plea of commercial confidence, trade secret, and intellectual property does not arise in this case at all. How the reason is because the said information should be provided and should be freely circulated, so that there is adequate criticism, evaluation of the kind of work that may be done in this case. So, dismissing the plea of the government and the Delhi Metro that it would harm competitive positions of third parties, it is exempted as being an intellectual property, and it may affect the security of the state. I think the Delhi High Court clearly came to the conclusion that there was no harm in providing the said information. So you will notice where the courts come to the right conclusion of whether the information has to be given or whether it can be withheld, as the case may be. The final case on the economic interest of the state was the Reserve Bank of India versus Jayantilal Mistry. It's a 2015 Supreme Court judgment. And very recently, the Supreme Court reminded the Reserve Bank of India that it was not complying with the said order, and it has asked the Reserve Bank of India to actually go ahead and comply the same. Now, the matter in this case was the Reserve Bank of India is a very important organization. It is the organization that regulates banking in India. It is the banker for the government. It also is involved in printing currency notes, so on and so forth. I think the kind of function that the Reserve Bank does is of national importance. Now, the Reserve Bank of India as a regulator organizes annual inspections of the bank and financial institutions in India on a regular basis. And once the inspection is done, an inspection report is also prepared, which probably contains a wide range of information that is contained from the banks and financial institutions. And a copy of the inspection report was sought under the Right to Information Act. Now, the Reserve Bank of India tried to defend it, and they tried to take it till the Supreme Court of India, stating that the inspection report is prepared in a confidential manner and it is held by the Reserve Bank of India in a fiduciary capacity. Banks like the ICICI Bank also pleaded in the Supreme Court, saying that such inspection report that is made by the Reserve Bank of India should not be disclosed under the Right to Information Act because it may affect their commercial confidence, and hence the Reserve Bank of India was duty bound in fiduciary capacity to hold this information, and it is in the economic interest of the country that such inspection reports are not provided for. Now, the question is to what extent the public should be allowed to get such kind of information, right? Whether the giving of information in such cases would be detrimental to the economic interest of the country. Should a common man be empowered to take this inspection report and try and analyze the functioning of the bank? Should there be any limits on section, the sections of the Right to Information Act under which citizens can seek information? So I think there were multiple issues that the Supreme Court had to take into account, and I think what the Supreme Court had to do in this case was to look at the the kind of power that general public should get from exercising their right to information, and can fiduciary relationship and economic interest be a valid ground for the Reserve Bank of India to deny the said information. I think these were some of the issues that the Supreme Court took into consideration in this very important case called the Reserve Bank of India versus Jayantilal Mistry. However, the Supreme Court did not accept the arguments of the Reserve Bank of India and directed the Reserve Bank of India to provide the said information.